We're
We're
8,472 below budget in January, as we were given another reduction in our IMRF contribution rate from 0.461% in 2016 to 0.238% in 2017. And I'm hopeful that that will continue, because IMRF should have had a pretty good investment year last year, as the stock market really picked up in the late, but I haven't seen the numbers yet. The last I saw, they were about 7% ahead, and pension assumptions assume a 7.5% return, so I'm pretty sure they beat that pretty easily. And in the special revenue fund, I mentioned we did not get the IMLS digitization training grant, so we will be under budget in that, but in both revenues and expenditures won't have any impact on the fund balance. And the capital projects fund, all we purchase is a vehicle and some computer equipment, and we'll see when our Spur Ridge project starts. We'll determine how that goes. I added a section, expenditures related to strategic plan goals, in response to a request last month. The percent this shows the estimated percent of our expenditures as related to total expenditures estimated so far through January versus the budget. We are spending a bit more on resource sharing proportionately. The major factor on that is increased group purchases, which are about over $150,000 over our budget. We've increased our activity in that, and that's all a resource sharing activity. And the continuing education and leadership and innovation, the number of a pretty major portion of the expenditures are from the IMLS digitization grant were allocated to that, and those are not going to happen. So can I take any questions? I can ask for your approval.
Okay, could I have a motion to adopt the for the approval of the financial report for January 2017?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Hearing none, motion carried. And the next item on the agenda is approval of expenditures.
Yes, the detailed the check voucher register is at the end of the report. It shows expenditures of $1,348,082.93. That's a pretty high number. Normally we spend $800,000 to $900,000 in a month. We made several annual expenditures. For example, our LIRA premiums of $117,000 were paid, and they cover the whole calendar year. And by the way, they're around $10,000 less than last year's premium. And we also made the annual unemployment or workman's compensation payment of $118,000, as well as the SWAN quarterly payment. So, any questions I could take?
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the check register balance in the amount of $1,348,082.93?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Emily, will you please call the roll?
Dave Ferry.
Yes.
Sue Busenbark.
Yes.
Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Kate Hall.
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusik.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Dee Runnels.
Yes.
Michelle Simmons. Laura Turner. Yes. Dane Ward.
Yes.
Lori Wilcox.
Yes.
Harriet Zipfel.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for including that percentage.
Oh,
It's really hard to quantify this stuff. Of course, that's one of the reasons that we have, did a program budget to begin with, to try to show you and everybody how we do spend our money. It's just difficult, and it's certainly just an estimate. Some of the things that are in resource sharing could be somewhere, it's, how that goes. But we're gonna
engagement, talking about
Right.
resource sharing.
right,
Yeah.
things overlap.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. But we'll keep at it. So thank you, Jim.
Next item is 7.1, report from Rail's president. I have something to say about the executive committee meeting later on, so I'll pass on that right now. And the nominating committee, but nothing else right now. So, next item is Paul, consortia committee.
Thank you, sir. If I may put Jane on the spot for a minute, would you mind just giving the board an update on where the overlay project is right now?
Sure. The overlay RFP was released on January 30th, and we notified the most likely vendors, as well as publishing a notice in the paper and putting it in some general informational spots. On February 7th, I had the Q&A session via conference call with vendors. We had 4 vendors represented at that. Proposals are due March 3rd. And in the meanwhile, the Overhead Software Search Committee has been discussing evaluation rubrics, which we've agreed on, as well as working on scripts for demonstrations for selected vendors, which we expect to occur in May. And our overall goal is to make a recommendation at the July 17th meeting of the Consortia Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Anything else, Paul?
No, sir.
Okay. Kathy, could you tell us about the delivery committee?
We haven't met in a while, but Jane sent out, or Rails, but I know Jane sent the email out, that there is a proposal for to look at delivery through the entire state and to see if there's maybe some better practices out there. So we're looking for an RFP for a consulting company to maybe look at that. So I think it was due. It's a pretty short turnaround. It's a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, that one is due March 17th.
So yeah. So hopefully it will be something to evaluate soon.
Okay. Thank you. The executive committee, we met on Monday, February 20th, and we're going to discuss our recommendations under unfinished business. Kate.
The policy committee did not meet.
Okay. And Kathy, back to you for membership.
The committee has not met, though I did ask Dee where we stand with the standards, and it's been with Greg and the State Library for about 2 months now, so we're just waiting for some responses and some comments from them. Hopefully we'll have something in the next month to at least tell the board.
Okay, thank you.
Did somebody just join us on the phone?
Harriet or Michelle, did you just join us on the phone? Yeah.
No. Okay. I will try.
Okay. Dee, want to present your report?
Yes, thank you. So you have my written report. Just reminded you about the upcoming meetings. We're going to start going on the road again.
Yay.
Right. As Kathy said, we were still, in pause mode on the standards. I did talk to Greg about it yesterday. Needless to say, they've got a lot on their plate, but their letter of outlining some of the questions or concerns that they have should be coming to us. I don't think there's any kind of a deal breaker in any of that. I think it's just things we have to discuss, and so we will. And hopefully, sometime in the near future, we can bring this back to the board for some more discussion and even some approval to kind of get them out there and test them a bit. Let's see. I attached an article about the FCC and some recent decisions that they have made, reversal of previous decisions related to broadband for individuals. This is, I think, very unfortunate. As we know, there is, despite the fact that it seems like everybody has a computer, everybody does not have a computer. And broadband access is really important to get rid of the so-called digital divide. And, certainly in Illinois, we have many areas in our system, geographic areas, certainly in Heartland too, where there's not good access to broadband for individuals or libraries. So I thought this was very unfortunate. I wanted you all to be aware of it. I think that's pretty much it. I had a lovely vacation. It's good to be back anyway, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
I had two questions. One was about Cherry Valley.
Yep.
I noticed that for Galesburg we have networking event and lunch, et cetera. I'm presuming tour. Are we going to be able to tour Cherry Valley?
I think so. As you will note, it is in the morning.
Yes.
Because it's Memorial Day. So I think we were just wondering how we might include that
Maybe
since it's
after for those of us
If
that
it's-
want to.
We'll work on that.
sure. I'm glad you brought that up.
I have never been there before. I mean, and I'm
I'm sure a
also-
tour, it's just whether it's networking or just.
Oh yeah, I was
coffee.
thinking
Okay.
just a tour. I would love.
Oh, sure.
Because there's always, even you can wander around, but then there's stuff that you don't
Right.
necessarily
Right.
notice.
Sure. Okay.
It's always fun.
Absolutely. So we're working on. I'm just looking at Debbie. I don't know what we'll be able to pull off because of the timing of the meeting, but yes.
And then I was curious with the article, and I
Yep.
read a number of articles concerning this
Yep.
topic. And is there something that we as a board want to do or say concerning this?
Well, I think my take on this is why ALA is important. This is why the going to National Library Legislative Day is important for not just local libraries, but for system boards as well. And that's why you've gone in the past, and I think you're going to go this year. And this is exactly the kind of stuff we talk about, which what's important in terms of federal issues. So I think, we could certainly look into this. Let me find out if there's anything particular that the Washington office is working on with this,
Okay,
and
or
I'll
just
send it
something
out.
that we can say,
Yep.
we agree, we
Yep.
support this,
Right.
we support what ALA is doing as
Right.
well, just to kind of stand behind the
Yep.
libraries that are in rails.
Yep.
Because, speaking personally, my actual library isn't going to be
Right.
impacted.
Or your
But-
community, really.
or my community.
Right.
However, as a Rails board member serving a very diverse makeup of libraries, this does have significant impact, and it feels like we should, if there is something that we can do,
Yep.
just to add our voice.
Absolutely. This is exactly why I wanted you to know about this. It's most unfortunate.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Thanks, Kate.
Any other discussions or questions for our director? Okay, we'll move along to the Rail Service and Operations Report.
Yeah. Well, you heard about the overlay RFP, and the delivery RFP. We've also put out. We've begun the process of looking for a construction manager for the renovations in Burr Ridge.
Are you doing an RFP on that, or just looking for people that you know that
We've-
can recommend.
We did this alternative process, which I couldn't, which, I think Eric Penny talked about it, but so we didn't have to actually do I guess we're doing an RFP for what would you call it, Jane?
Well, Eric provided the forms. The process
Okay.
is we put notice in the paper.
It's a formal process.
Yeah,
Just a
letter of intent is due today. There's a required building walkthrough next week for people who are interested. And then there are forms that Eric provided that basically amount to a proposal.
Right.
Okay.
And they have to be qualified, obviously. That's the whole point.
Right.
Yeah.
Do it, right?
Right. That might be true. I don't know.
And those are also due March 17th.
Right. So I don't know if you have any questions about the operations report?
I was going to just commend, it wasn't in the operations report, but I was going to just commend the fake staff for the fake news webinar that I know Veranda was on the panel for that happened at Elgin that I thought was very timely and very applicable to obviously what is going on and what we as individual libraries are dealing with, and I thought it showed that Rails is very on top of making sure that we are offering a wide variety of continuing ed, which I know Joe and Louise are doing all the time, but that was a wonderful thing to see us respond and do so quickly. And I know I've heard from a lot of people how valuable it was, and I hope we see more of that as things progress and things come up, as you guys always have.
And on that note, I just did a podcast yesterday with Margaret Peebles from Gail Borden, who was part of the panel, which will be issued at some point or released at some point.
Well, I look forward to listening to that.
Which also reminds me that the annual Digital Public Library of America Fest is upcoming. And this is going to be in Chicago in April. It's a great opportunity for people to get to these programs locally. And there will be an upcoming podcast about that, too. So I think that's enough.
Thank you,
Unless
Dave.
you have questions.
And then we'll move on to the next item, the Illinois State Library Report. Fred?
Well, good afternoon from the State Library, and greetings from the staff here and Secretary of State and State Librarian Betsy White. A lot of things have been going on in Springfield, many things budgetarily, and then other issues that could impact libraries statewide as well. So certainly, revisiting some things that we said were already underway. School library grants, all of those payments have been processed. School libraries have been, or announcements have gone to each of those school library recipients of that funding, so that is well underway. We're finalizing the public library per capita grants for FY17. Announcements will be very shortly, and we are in the initial review stages of the public library construction funding applications for the Live and Learn Fund, the $870,000 that we would be awarding yet this spring. Certainly on everyone's mind, still here at the State Library, certainly at the system level, what is happening for possibly the remainder of FY17 and FY18 and FY17. We are still watching closely Senate Bill 6, which does have at the least funding, again, for the final payments that are due to communities in the capital bond project for public library construction in the state. It's a little over $10 million that we owe a number of libraries. And it's fair to say, I believe they're all Rails libraries at this point. So it's a significant amount of money that we need to get moved. FY18, still in the very early stages of the budget process. The governor's budget address was held, obviously, since your last board meeting. We are always anxious to see what those numbers look like in his recommendation, although they are very, very preliminary this year, because there would still need to be action taken on a proper tax increase. And with that, still his ability or necessity to possibly reduce some of those budget numbers to truly put that in balance. It's not only about dollars this year because of the grand plan that's being put in place. It's also about property tax and what that is, whether that's 2 years, 5 years limitation, who knows yet. It also deals with pensions, which is not just the staff here at the State Library, but it's also at school districts and universities all over the state, and there are different parameters being set depending upon which pension system that in, but it is all part of this major discussion. Certainly, we look at this stuff, what's going on in FY18 in anticipation of what we're going to do with the FY18 grant applications. I spoke to Dee yesterday a bit about what we can expect for system area and per capita. I did confirm that today with Pat Bose and the work on what we had finished. We will meet again, I believe, Tuesday to put the final touches on that application and get that out to you. I will say this, we have consolidated some information again. It would appear for one set of budget figures, and then we would go from there with any reductions that would be necessary based upon of the budget. So that will make the application a bit simpler, and I think we're looking at a target submission date of around June 1, which is ample time to address this. I think that the other thing, of course, we've been following, and I mentioned there has been a significant amount of legislation this year that impacts libraries, some things that people are aware, some things that were discussed at the last ILA public policy meeting, and a number of pieces that were filed immediately after that. I know that ILA is following that closely, but there are some significant pieces that keep popping up regarding the ability of public library districts to expand and or change tax rates. So, and that of course falls right in line with the property tax freeze. So it's something we're following very closely. We're commenting on, for our legislative staff, a number of pieces. And as I'm sure those of you who are involved with ILA public policy will be hearing more about that information too. So I think that's it, but enough from here as well. So questions?
No questions, just thank you. I got my letter yesterday, my email for school library grants, so thank you again for that.
Great.
We don't have any questions today. Thank you very much, Greg.
I have been informed that Galesburg is on the phone. Are you there, Harriet?
Yes, we're here.
Is Michelle with you by any chance?
Yes, she is.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Welcome.
you guys, and sorry about that.
The way it goes sometimes.
Can't hear you very well. If you can raise the volume, that would be really helpful.
Okay, it's raised as much as possible.
That's better. Thank you.
Moving along, and new business, and 8.1 is we have some information regarding the nominating committee. Dee, would you
Sure.
provide that?
Yes. So Betsy Adamowski has agreed to chair the nominating committee. I guess I should preface all this by saying what seats we have vacant or are going to be up for be contested. Dave's term is up. You're going to be running again.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Mary Jo's term is up. She cannot run again, sadly.
At this time.
Yes, at this time, right? Right. Thank you for adding, yes. Let's see. Kathy's term is up, and she cannot run again. The end of an era. And Dane Ward's term is up. He can run again, and I'm sure that he will because I'm going to pester him until he agrees with me. Now he already knows I've already pestered him twice. Just kidding, Dane. Kind of. Really.
No pressure.
Right. Dee Runnels was filling out the term of Sid Ruckriegel, so she will be running again. She has told me for re-election for a full term. And so we have. Did I miss anything? No. So yes. So the nominating committee: Betsy Adamowski, Jay Caston, who is a trustee at Vernon Area Library District. Jane Lenser, who is currently the director of Cherry Valley, but was a school librarian. That's what we have so far, which I think is great because we have a school librarian seat and we have a trustee seat. We may look for a academic librarian or somebody else, but I don't know because we haven't. I don't know that we need to, but.
Okay.
So, and this is not something that anybody needs to vote on. This is just something that sort of Dave and I work on together to get this moving forward. And we'll be starting that process because the elections that takes a month or so, and it's almost March. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. My pleasure.
Any more discussion on that issue?
Any?
Okay. Moving down to unfinished business. 9.1 fiscal year 2018 budget. Dee, you want to give us another?
Yeah, we're still working on the project list, as I told you that we would, which will give you the full array of things we think maybe that should be done next year. Obviously, a lot of it is dependent on what the revenues are. So we're waiting, like everybody else, to see what happens with the Senate and the General Assembly in general. Also need to, of course, know what the State Library's direction is as far as assumptions, revenue assumptions, or priorities, those kinds of things. So a June 1 submission date, as Greg said, it would be really very helpful, I think. Certainly by then, one hopes one would know more, although I've been saying that for two years now, I think, so maybe I'm wrong. But, the bottom line is if we don't get, additional funds next year, we're going to have to cut the budget, period. We just don't know yet how much or if. So, continues to be crazy. It's a ridiculous planning environment, but
That's what we've got.
that's what we got, right? So, any questions or suggestions on any of this from anybody? Feel free.
Just keep us updated.
Yeah.
I guess one of my questions would be if, depending on what happens within the state legislature, if anything happens, that would it also make sense to look at revising parts of the strategic plan to just reflect that we're in a different environment so that we're not setting ourselves up for failure and saying, well, no, we're not meeting this because we can't fund this right now, so that we can create realistic goals and say that we maybe need to table some things. I just feel like in addition to doing the budget, I think it can be very demoralizing to keep looking at a plan that you're not able to accomplish everything that you've set out to do, and know that it's impossible to accomplish it, and that it might be better to adjust it so that people feel like we're still actually accomplishing
In touch with
things.
reality, it's a very good point, and something we should certainly look at it. I will say that the way that we, I think, did the strategic plan was very big picture. And fortunately, we are able to do exactly what you're saying really every year when we do the plan of service. But that's not to say, I mean, certainly if it begins to look that our budget is permanently cut to some other level, we may have to, rethink a lot of things. But I hope that it's permissive enough or kind of enabling, but we'll see in terms of what happens with the revenues. But yeah, absolutely, we have to be realistic.
Okay. Now we move down to item 9.2, recommendation to discontinue Talking Book services on August 31st. Jane, your name is on this.
Sure. Well, we included the memo we put in last month's board packet for your convenience. Really, nothing has changed. There's no new budget news, as Steve's just said. So this month we are asking for your approval of our recommendation to fund ITBAC just through August 31st of this year, so the first couple months of 2018. That will give us 6 months to work on the transition with the Illinois State Library. Are there any questions?
It's not a happy thing, obviously.
Was there a question on the phone?
Not from Gilpin.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to discontinue ITBOC services on August 31st, 2017.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Lori Wilcox.
Thank you, Lori. Any further discussion? All in favor? Or
Roll
is this
call.
roll call?
This is roll call.
Dave Barry.
Yes.
Susan Busenberg.
Yes.
Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Kate Hall. Yes. Mary Jo Matusek.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker. Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Dee Runnels.
Yes.
Michelle Simmons.
Yes.
Laura Turner.
Yes.
Dane Ward.
Yes.
Lori Wilcox.
Yes.
Harriet Zipfeld.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay. It's item 9.3, recommendation of the executive committee to fill board vacancy. Well, the executive committee, we met on the 20th, and we decided that we found out we have 3 candidates, and Dee, you've set up 3 meetings.
Yes, we have the committee decided to interview the 3 candidates, and we have set up arranged some times around by March 16th, or on March 13th and 16th. We'll be doing these, so we should be able to recommend at the next meeting, I would think.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. I want to be sure we need a brief meeting of the executive committee after this meeting, just to to let everybody know what's going on. So, yeah, Laura, you're the only person that's not in the room, right?
Can't really have a meeting.
We're going to discuss
Oh,
the schedule.
that's a problem, isn't it?
Yes. You and I can talk individually to the committee.
Okay, well, we'll figure
Yeah.
something out. We have to be able to have a conversation about this. If we can't have it today, we'll do something different. Anyway, we will be, as I say, interviewing them briefly. I talked to them all on the phone. They're very interested in Rails and really, have obviously been very active in their local communities. A couple of them are known to members. So this is to fill Lisa Kanashik's term. She had to resign. She was a trustee in Brookfield, and this term is up next year, 18.
Okay. We thank you.
Yep.
And then item 10, board development, 10.1. Ann?
Yes, Ann and Wes and Carolyn in Coal Valley are going to talk to us about library patron privacy. Please join us at the table.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out of it.
Yep, there's still an empty chair next to you, Murray.
Oh, that was not nice. That was not nice.
Really, that was gratuitous.
Next time, we're not going to.
Thank you, Wes.
It was just an observation.
Sure.
All right. We have very detailed notes because this is something we could spend probably multiple days on, each one of us. So we're going to do our best to keep it brief and useful. So we recently had a question about the issue of certain vendors passing personally identifiable information about patrons to a third party. In this case, it was a library's online catalog passing information to Amazon when they were pulling a book cover image. And that kind of vendor to third-party interaction is fairly common. We figured it was a good opportunity to talk about library patron privacy issues in general. Privacy has always been important to libraries. And, we've all seen issues of individual privacy in the news a lot lately, especially around online activities. So we thought we would just kind of give you a snapshot. So for some context, in the library arena, American Library Association policies address privacy and affirm that confidentiality is crucial to freedom of inquiry. And rights to privacy and confidentiality are also implicit in the Library Bill of Rights, guarantee of free access to library resources for all users. So we're going to give you a couple different perspectives on patron privacy. Wes is going to talk about individual privacy on the internet in general. Carolyn is going to talk about protecting patron data in the library catalog, and then I will talk a little bit about what Rails can possibly do here, and also what Rails member libraries can do. So, Wes, take it away.
The big thing here is that the privacy concerns on the internet go far beyond our libraries. It's in the news. We hear about it all the time. Tracking you on the internet, it happens. It's just a fact, all that information goes into logs and is available to your ISP or anyone, really. And marketing and advertisers try to find ways to get around a lot of these privacy, pieces because they want to know who you are and what you like so that they can sell you more things. And there's other services on the internet that a lot of people consider free. And it's not really free. It doesn't cost you anything out of pocket. But you got to understand that your information is valuable, and it is valuable to Facebook, Google, anybody who's providing you a resource online. Your information is what they want, and that is what's paying for that resource. You obviously know that Google uses your information to target ads, and we're all fairly okay with that because if you're going to see an ad anyway, you'd probably rather see for something that you're interested in. But they also use things like they use the Gmail data for AI tuning and learning.
You say what AI is?
Yeah, artificial intelligence and computer learning. It's a way that they can have millions and millions of inputs from real live people teaching a computer to be more human-like. They can take those patterns and program them in. So the one thing that you should take away from this is your information is valuable, and the phrase that there's no free lunch is still just as true now as it was long before the internet.
Thank you, Wes. Carolyn, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to try to cram a lot of information into a short period of time. First off, all libraries, LLSAPs or any library in Illinois are subject to the Library Records Confidentiality Act in Illinois, which basically gives us guidelines about patron privacy in their records, and also says that law enforcement cannot be divulged any information without a court order or subpoena. This is common in every state. There are usually laws on the books like these, and one of our duties as librarians has always been to educate patrons about their own privacy concerns and and how they can best protect themselves. Most ILSs, for instance, have the ability to track a bibliography for their patrons because many patrons like that, and those functions become opt-in and must be opt-in, but we have to explain to our patrons that when they do that, they are keeping information that could possibly be queried by law enforcement in the future. So that kind of education is important for our patrons. Regarding LLSAPs or anyone that runs an ILS, an integrated library system, vendors that we deal with must provide us with privacy statements in our contracts, and all of them do. We have to be vigilant with our vendors around this topic and make sure that they are clear that we own our own data and that they cannot divulge it without our permission. Regarding the question with the Amazon books, that's only one system that I know about. Most of the large systems use a contractual agreement with a third-party provider that provides us with those book jacket information and add value information in our catalogs. And those, again, are contractual agreements with privacy statements. So libraries have to be vigilant about those privacy statements in our contracts. In addition, LLSAPs in all libraries have to be performing with best practices for network and security. And that involves having strong plans and practices for disaster recovery, incident response, password patching, malware and adware, malware and antivirus concerns. The other thing that we need to be vigilant with our vendors in particular is making sure that they are compliant with PCI, which is the payment card industry's strictures around how we can take online credit cards. Because most libraries and most ILSs are doing that now for fine payment, we just have to make sure that we're covered there. Because if there's one thing that people want to hack with libraries, it's going to be credit card numbers. I don't think hackers really care what we read, but they do want to gather our credit card numbers. So anyway, so just to summarize, we need to work with our vendors to make sure that we are covered. We need to be vigilant, and we need to always perform with best practices around security in our networks. And that is all.
Awesome. Thanks, Carolyn. So going back to the Library Bill of Rights, the ALA has published an interpretation of the Bill of Rights around patron confidentiality, and it states that everyone, whether paid or unpaid, who provides any kind of governance, administration, or service in libraries has a responsibility to maintain an environment respectful and protective of the privacy of all users. So we've talked a lot about tech, and that's where it tends to come up quite often as an issue, but I think it's something that all library staff need to be informed about and aware of. Everybody has access to some level of patron data. well, perhaps not everybody, but a lot of people who work in and with libraries. So there are clearly some key areas of staff responsibility that wherein staff need to focus on limiting and protecting the information they collect and have access to. And again, clearly a lot of it is around tech, so best practices for network security, reading vendor contracts, being able to identify those areas that could potentially compromise privacy, and then having the ability to take a stand and negotiate with vendors on those areas. Then also clearly library staff have a role in educating their patrons. So there's a lot that can be done in libraries around patron education, around personal privacy, so staff having an imperative to be informed about those things and then able to pass along the information. So to that end, there are a few things that we can do at Rails. Joe and I talk often about what we can do in terms of CE opportunities. So I know he's been looking into privacy issues specifically. And then I collected and annotated some professional resources in the document that was in your packet. I want to particularly highlight the library privacy checklist. That's the newest resource on the list. It goes hand in hand with the privacy toolkit. The privacy guide. There's a lot of similarly titled resources, but the checklists I think are particularly useful because they're very concrete and actionable, and they are also tiered. There's a tier 1 set of steps in each of the areas that was intended to be able to be actionable by any libraries at any resource level. So something that ideally any library, no matter their funding, size, anything, should be able to do. And then for libraries who have more resources or provide more complex services, there are other things that can be done on top of that. So that's definitely worth checking out. That's it. So we're happy to take any questions.
This is fabulous. I mean, this is something that I think we all struggle with in this, age of more open information. And I know what's always interesting for me is kind of dealing with staff departures and dealing with patient privacy from that angle as well. First, educating new staff when they come in, but then also, if they leave the organization, making sure that they are not leaving with any way of accessing that data, whether it be through, an email or some type of portal, that also, that gets back into the technology, but it really is about the education on the staff side of things, and then having also good HR practices, because really, if you miss something, and someone decides to, go in and be malicious, hopefully they wouldn't be, but, anything is possible that can really happen. And so I think it's not to be scary vigilant, but that it has to be something that we keep front of mind. And I know we talk about it a fair amount at my library, and it's been talked about a lot. I think just amongst all libraries, I think it's something that comes up as we try to make sure that we're providing a very high level of service while also maintaining people's confidentiality. And one of the things that my staff at my library personally really struggle with is that the whole, someone has a book on hold, they send in another family member to pick it up, and you say, well, no, I'm sorry, that is not you, you are not this person, we cannot give this to you, and they, of course, then get angry and chaos ensues. And
that's a tough one.
I had an instance at one point in my career where a board member came and chastised this poor CERT clerk who was doing what they were told, and that becomes very uncomfortable for the CERT clerk who's only trying to do their job. So it definitely seems this should be well, no, you protect patron privacy, but I think all the things that you guys talked about, will help give people the resources to have deeper discussions, because it is a very complex issue, and it isn't something that is easily okay, privacy, check. done. So thank you. It's very helpful.
Thank you, Ann.
Some good
Carolyn,
resources.
Les?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you again.
Thank you.
The next item is agenda building for our next meeting. which
Now,
will-
excuse me, board member reports. That was not on the
Board
agenda.
member
We did.
report, okay.
That's right. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Dave.
Okay, does anyone have any reports to make?
I want to remind everyone. Can I?
Sure.
Okay, so I wanted to just remind everyone that Dee has been nominated to be an Illinois Library Luminary, and we're very excited. And last month, Dave mentioned that that you can donate, and thank you to everyone that already has gone and done that. But I just wanted to remind everyone, I did send out an email individually to everyone that gave you more information on that. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. And I hope you'll join me in supporting our very wonderful and amazing executive director for this wonderful luminary opportunity. I was going to try and be clever and witty there, but I decided not to.
So you can embarrass Dee even more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. Any other reports? Okay, now we'll go down to agenda building for the next meeting on Friday, March 24th, here.
I think that we should probably talk about voting in a new trustee.
Hopefully we'll be ready to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Any other items someone would like to add to that agenda?
At some point, we have to start my review process. I will look into
Yes.
the timeline for that.
Before the
Are
next
we
board member report.
still waiting on that, though, because of the...
I sent you and Dave an email quite a ways back
Yeah.
saying, I think
Like,
we're just
sit
going to
on
have to
it.
keep doing the same one because we're not going to get.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
not going to be done. Oh, okay. I thought we were waiting.
Yeah, I think that's just the safest
Okay.
course.
Okay, also, they're kind of like the April 28th meeting will be held in East Peoria.
Yep.
And,
We'll be talking to you about that.
okay.
And actually, I believe that Laura, hopefully, if all goes well, Laura will be joining us in Burr Ridge next month. She, as part of our continuing effort to, bring board members here to see the headquarters and meet people and orient them, although she's way past orienting. But anyway, so that is something to look forward to.
Okay. There's one last
I
item
can't think
on
of
the
any.
agenda.
I can't think of any other agenda items, but I will.
Well, item number 13 on this agenda.
Almost.
That is a motion to adjourn at 2 p.m.
I'll
Is there a second?
I'll second.
The second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No? Opposed? Thank you all.